We're coming to you live from the MGM in Las Vegas as we're doing our Canelo. We got the Hulk here. I told you we were going to be bringing a lot of guests on. We got the Hulk. We're doing our Canelo Kovalev event, and joining us right now is the Hulk himself. Should I call you Mr. Hulk? I don't want you to start throwing me around. I'll call you Mr. Hulk. Canelo,
Good idea.
Canelo, Sergey Kovalev, and Canelo Alvarez are going to be fighting for Kovalev's title. Do you have any predictions? How do you see this fight going?
Hulk like Big Russian to crush Canelo into a cinnamon smear.
It sounds like you have a little Russian in you. What accent is that? Is that part of the what the?
I've
that
been
green,
exposed to radiation.
Was it the radiation or that extra green tea you had this morning? I don't know.
Hulk smash.
So your official prediction is Kovalev
by smash.
By a smashing. Kovalev will be winning by a smashing defeat over Canelo Alvarez, as says the Hulk. And could you tear off the shirt or no? We'll see. No, we won't have him tear off the shirt. But thanks for joining us, and we'll be looking forward.
Happy Halloween, Billy C.
We'll be looking forward to seeing you ringside. You are going to be ringside, right?
You bet.
All right, we'll be seeing the Hulk ringside.
Hulk like round card girls.
So does Billy C. But anyway,
Tecate.
big. Yeah, you know what happened to Corona?
Corona. Me no Hulk no like Corona.
They didn't ante up. Huh?
Corona tastes like water, yellow water.
Yeah, even with the lime.
Yes, lime tasting yellow water.
You like the lime. It's your color. But
green.
Exactly. But anyway, we are coming to you live with our Canelo Alvarez, Sergey Kovalev pre-fight show. We are in the second part of this show, and we're excited. We're going to have some more guests coming on. We're scheduled this hour. We're scheduled to have Sergio Mora join us, so that'll be interesting. Some interesting fights. If you missed the first part of this show, you missed a great interview with a young fighter on this card.
Blair the Flair Cobbs.
That's right, Blair the Flair Cobbs. I'm sorry. What a story he had. Was telling us that he was living the good life, and it kind of got turned upside down overnight for him, and pretty much had to flee the country, and fought his way in Mexico, which is, Alex, I mean, there's no doubt that the Mexican fighters, and he was telling us that, he basically was fighting every week in Mexico. They still do it the way everyone used to do it 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, where there's a fight card every weekend. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think that it's pretty interesting when you think about where he's been to have been Beverly Hills, Mexico, and then Philadelphia. In terms of the Beverly Hills part, doesn't really give you a lot of boxing credentials, but the Mexico and the Philadelphia, I mean, how much better does it get than that?
Well, you missed it. He was New York too. Remember, he said he was in New York.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So chances are he was in Brooklyn, because most fighters in New York end up in Brooklyn. But anyway, towards the end of our last segment, we were talking about the Ryan Garcia Romeo Deneau fight. And we've obviously been talking about the Canelo and Kovalev fight, and you just heard Hulk himself pick Kovalev. And I'm wondering if the Hulk is going to put some money on Kovalev, because it's Kovalev is an underdog. Last time I checked, he was a 4-1 underdog, meaning you're going to lay $400 to win 100 on Canelo, or you're going to win. This is why Vegas is in business. Or you win 300. I know it doesn't,
right?
If you bet Kovalev, but the truth of the matter is it's not going to be an easy fight for Canelo. And we've been talking about this fight for a long time. As a matter of fact, once it was announced. Now, a couple of things that come into mind. Number one, Kovalev just recently fought. He fought back in the end of August against Anthony Yarde, and it was a tough fight. I mean, it wasn't an easy fight for him, Alex. He, struggled was in serious trouble. As a matter of fact, his trainer, Buddy McGirt, said to him, "I'm giving you one more round." And was about to stop it, and we've seen, in the past that when Buddy McGirt says he's stopping a fight, he stops the fight.
Yeah, he's not
And Kovalev came out that very next round and stopped Yard. And although Yard is a young, strong fighter, he still has a lot to learn, and a lot of people could question why he took that fight, and the only logical answer is for the money. I mean, he took the fight for the money. But I think that fighting recently in a tough fight like that can only help Kovalev in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I do think so too, because I think in a case with Kovalev, if some of the rumors are true about his lifestyle, the idea that he went right into another training camp, I think only helps, because that idea of having some time off, relaxing, staying out of the gym, staying up late, that kind of stuff, living hard, that's going to take a toll on you. So I do think that if he went right back into camp after the Yard fight, that's only going to help.
Now sometimes they say that, just like a fighter that's training and preparing for a fight, that they peak out, and in times of where a fight might be delayed or postponed a week or two for whatever reason, that it hurts a fighter. In this case, do you think that it's going to hurt Kovalev in terms of him not having a chance to fully rest? I mean, you could say that he did get at least 3, 4, maybe even 5 weeks of rest before he began training again. I'm not so sure. I mean, Buddy McGirt, Hall of Fame fighter, obviously, and I think he's a very underrated trainer. I think that he's got Kovalev doing exactly what he wants.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that I think this is really a good move for him. I think the fight's coming at the right time. I mean, when we talk to Buddy McGirt later, we'll get an idea of what the camp was like. But I have a feeling that in terms of timing, I think this is good for both guys. I think they'll both be, in as good a shape as they can be, and I do think. I was a little surprised, and maybe this is what I thought. I heard that the Hulk was here, and the Hulk said something about, he's all about size. And I don't know about you, but when I saw the two of them standing next to each other, Kovalev is much bigger.
Yeah, and the thing is that's what I keep saying. If he utilizes his size and boxing ability, it's going to be a tough fight for Canelo.
And he knocked Bernard Hopkins down with a jab, if I remember correctly. Well,
at this weight, Kovalev obviously needs to be the guy that you have to assume is the more powerful fighter. You can't, I'm not taking anything away from Canelo, but he's never fought at this weight before. Despite him walking around at this weight or even actually heavier, he's never fought at it. I do have some quotes that we'll look at right now. Canelo says, "A body punch is always necessary in every fight, and it's a key move that I'm absolutely going to utilize to my advantage to win this fight." And when he was asked about his transition to light heavyweight, he said, "I feel good. This is the weight I'm usually at during my normal life, so it's natural for me. I've been eating well, lifting more weights, because I normally don't lift weights when I'm losing weight. I've been eating how I normally do, of course staying healthy, but adding more rice, protein, and beef." No, he didn't say beef. "And carbohydrates. I'm entering his zone of comfort, but we're ready for this. We have the intelligence and skill to beat Kovalev and win the fight. It's going to be one of the most important fights for me and my career. This title is very important. To be a 4-time world champion in different divisions, this is historic for my career." He went on to say, "In boxing, you have to take risks to make history, and this is a huge risk for my career, but we're ready. We feel that we have the necessary skills to win this fight, I'm going to utilize all of my skills in the ring. We know what he has and what his challenge represents, what this challenge represents. We know he has long arms, his jab is really strong, and he knows how to move, but we've trained for this. He's my strongest opponent without a doubt, and it's a huge risk for me, but we're ready. It sounds exactly like what I'm saying he wasn't ready for. By hearing a quote like that only solidifies that he's going into this fight well prepared, and maybe you're right from your initial assessment of this fight. The one thing I'm a little concerned about is the fact that he's lifting weights. That typically slows down a fighter when there's too much muscle mass, and it also tires a fighter out easier. So that kind of concerns me. But aside from that, everything else is all the right things to say.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing the only caveat I have about what he said is when he said, I like taking risks, I would say calculated risks, because that's what this one is. But that's the name of the game. Who wants to take, wanton risks? That's how you get killed. So I do think that in terms of the weights, that's interesting because, he has that physique, that classic mesomorph physique. So I could tell, I'm not surprised he likes lifting weights, but you're right. I'm not sure that's going to help him too much. One of the things Dre had said in the Anthony Yard fight was that in his experience, Kovalev wasn't physically strong inside to move around. So maybe Canelo is thinking, I want to be able to own the inside. I want to be able to move him where I want him to go, rather than, be bowled around by the bigger guy. So it could be. I mean, but I think that the point you bring up about guys with big, hypertrophed muscles get tired fast. The startling example that we have in recent memory is Andy Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua. Look at the chubby Mexican guy. Didn't get tired.
Well, look at
Anthony. But the big, beautifully built guy, all those big muscles need lots of oxygen.
But he didn't train either.
And he couldn't get the gas.
No, and but Anthony Yard for Kovalev, muscular guy.
Yep, same thing. Yep.
Kovalev had some quotes, and this is from Tuesday. He says, Canelo has nothing to lose in this fight. He has a chance to make history, but I have to defend my title. This is the biggest fight in my career. I've never been in this situation where someone is coming from middleweight. I'm not going to make a prediction, but I'm going to go in there and defend my title. I think Canelo will be just as strong at light heavyweight. I think he'll weigh the same as me, 175 pounds. Well, he's going to have to get the fight. He will be heavier than usual, but I think he's going to be comfortable. When you lose weight for a fight, you lose power and stamina, and he won't have to do that. My preparation has been well. We've had a great camp with Buddy. I had a short rest since my last fight, but I think that's better. My body feels really good, and I'm ready for this fight. This fight's going to be interesting. It has worldwide intrigue. I can't wait. In the last segment, I said sometimes when a fighter says certain things during a press conference or a quote, it may be speaking louder volumes. His comments to me sound more from a promotional point of view than himself. Canelo, these quotes to me make me lean towards Canelo.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, it's the thing about this whole the pageant of a pre-fight is you get, things you've heard before, and you kind of find yourself going over the same things, trying to find something different. But you're right. I think those two quotes, it's hard. It is hard to take any other way than, Canelo seems to be the real focused guy. But I don't know. Words are words, and they're not throwing words at each other. They're going to be throwing punches.
I just think that if Kovalev is here as a, bon voyage, I want to cash out, Canelo's going to win this fight, and he's going to stop him. But if Kovalev is really looking at this the way he should, as, an opportunity to make more money and at least have another big financial fight, a win, because what this is like what I used to tell my fighters, specifically my world champion Chevelle Hallback. I'm like, just remember something. You win this fight, and you set up the rematch. The rematch, we know that there's a rematch clause in this fight. Canelo is not going to step in this ring against Kovalev and fight Kovalev without a rematch clause. There's no way. And, if I'm Kathy Duva and Kovalev, I'm not fighting the fight either without a rematch clause. Now, I don't know if Canelo would have signed that, with Kovalev having the choice, but I think Canelo's team would definitely have. I don't know for certain, and maybe that's something we'll ask Kathy Duva. But the truth of the matter is a rematch could be huge money for Kovalev if he wins. Canelo's not going to give him a rematch if he loses. So I think that the rematch will be up to Canelo.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting. Yeah, I'd really be eager to hear what Kathy Duva has to say about that, because I didn't even think of that. I wonder if there is a rematch clause. I would think there probably is, because it is for the title. But you're right. Maybe. I guess we'll just have to find out. I don't know, man. I'm looking forward to a good fight. I think it's going to be, no matter what happens, neither one of these guys is boring. So I think we're in for a good fight.
I think we're in for a good fight. It's just, I want it to be, I want the fight to be more than we expect. In other words, I don't want to see it, the first couple of rounds be feel-out rounds, and then, have Kovalev start to try to establish, a jab and boxing, try to box Canelo, and then all of a sudden have Canelo get inside and break him down, and then the fight's over by the 7th, 8th round. I don't want to see that. What I would like to see is some drama. I hate to say it, but maybe a knockdown or two, maybe a cut that, would add some intrigue. Something that makes fights great, and when it's something out of the ordinary, when there's something else in the mix, that's what makes fights great, and that's what we need for this fight, in my opinion. Then again, maybe the fight itself is going to be fine. I don't know.
I think that. I don't see a feeling out round. I have a feeling things are going to get heated right away. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And I have a feeling that we will know by the end of the first round whether it's going to be a one-sided fight or not. I just have that feeling, and this is in my head, and maybe this is way wrong-headed, and I'm sorry I'm sounding so one-sided here, but I kind of just had a vision of De La Hoya Pacquiao, where the first round of that, by the end of the first round, it was like, oh, wow, De La Hoya is bigger, but he doesn't have the speed, he doesn't have the timing, he can't close the distance, that kind of thing. All those things that De La Hoya had that you would think, oh, he's going to use his jab, he's going to use his size. They didn't matter, because Pacquiao was able to just do what he wanted. I have a feeling we might see Canelo assert himself like that even by the end of the first round. But, the thing that I love about this sport, I love being wrong.
You see, the thing is for Canelo to fight like that, it would require Kovalev to be the aggressor.
Right.
And if he's the aggressor, he goes against everything I think he should be doing. I mean, don't get me wrong, he needs to win rounds, but he also, his chance of winning this fight is for him to try and establish his jab and, work off of his jab. That's his way and his chance of winning this fight. But it's a tough analogy to follow because I don't look at Canelo as this super boxer with super speed. I see him as a boxer puncher.
Right.
I see him get in and be able to finish his opponents when he can. I see him learning over the last several years that a win's a win. It doesn't matter if he knocks his opponent out. He also knows that he gets the nods a lot, especially here in Vegas. So I would be surprised if we see something similar to a Pacquiao De La Hoya. I know that the size analogy is true, but the style and the hand speed and the accuracy. Well, then again, I think Canelo might be more accurate than Pacquiao. His punches came from so many different angles. Sometimes he was inaccurate, but
and the big thing with Canelo was the economy of punches. He doesn't throw lots and lots of punches. He's throws meaningful punches.
And then the other thing about Canelo is that Canelo traditionally has run out of gas, like in the seventh, eighth rounds, those kinds of things, that kind of situation. So. It very well could be something similar to that. I think we're going to be getting Sergio Mora here in a couple of minutes, so we'll get his thoughts on it. But it appears that it's going to be a very good fight, and you bring up a great point. I think it's going to be a feeling. I think that first round is going to be a typical feeling out round. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I don't think, I would be surprised if Canelo jumped all over Kovalev, and I would definitely be more surprised if Kovalev tried to jump all over Canelo.
That's the way I see it, is Kovalev bringing the fight to him, because I can't see him doing anything else, and I see Canelo making him pay for his aggression in the way that Yard did with that left hook. I think Canelo will do that, and probably get a little bit of what Bobby Chaz always used to say, his pound of flesh, by the end of the first round.
Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we should have Sergio Mora with us, so don't go nowhere.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money.
It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty,
get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Canelo Kovalev pre-fight show. We're doing live from the MGM here in Las Vegas as we get ready for the big fight on Saturday night. And we were just told that my man Buddy McGirt's going to be joining us here in a second. That's why you see an empty chair here, because Buddy McGirt will be here in a second. Looking forward to his thoughts on this big fight, Alex. And he's quite the character.
Hall of Famer, freshly from the Hall of Fame, and I tell you, I remember the first fight I ever went to at the Felt Forum. I remember seeing Buddy McGirt there in the crowd, and that was a prize fighter.
Well, I tell you, he has made a great career as a trainer. I think he's one of the best kept secrets as a trainer. And I think the other issue with him is he's a regular guy, which people are going to see here in a minute, But back in 2012, which I'm going to remind him about, he came and was a guest on the show. So we'll reminisce about that. But I'm curious to hear what his plans are. He's on the phone right now. I'm curious to hear what his plans are for this fight with Kovalev. And I think he's made a difference for Kovalev, to be honest with you, Alex.
Yeah, I think that's definitely. I mean, I thought that the victory over Alvarez was one of the best in Kovalev's career. So, and that was with Buddy McGirt. So I think that's, in terms of having a strong corner, it's being one of those things you want to have in an important fight. Kovalev definitely has that.
Well, I know you just recently watched it, but the Anthony Yard fight was another example, which I'm curious to get his thoughts on. He must be on a very, very important fight.
Well, and if you think about it, too, what he showed in the Yard fight is something, as much as it pains me to say it, the guy who got me into this sport was Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson never really did that, where he was hurt in a fight and then rallied and came back. The closest you could ever have was maybe in Tony Tucker and Pinklin Thomas, but Kovalev was in danger of being stopped, and he rallied and came right back.
Well, James Buddy McGirt is sitting down with us right now. He's going to get his headset on, and Buddy McGirt, how you doing, my man?
I'm great, thank you.
I told you when I saw you before, I was going to remind you. Back in 2012, I was at the Mandalay doing a week-long thing, and you had stopped by, and you came with a bunch of people, and you were the life of the interview. You, I don't know if you remember, but you were busting my you-know-whats. It had a glass in front of the studio, and you kept lifting your shirt. You're lifting your shirt up, and I'm cracking up. I'm on live, and you're making me laugh. And you never even put the beer down, too, while you were doing that.
Yeah, I can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time.
Hey, buddy, we've been talking a lot, obviously, about this fight, and one of the issues that I think was going to be an issue is you. I think that you're bringing and adding a dimension for Kovalev. I think if he fights smart, if he boxes, he could use his size advantage. What have you been going through in training with him to prepare him for Canelo? And I heard a quote from you saying that you're looking for Canelo to be coming after his body.
Well, I expect Canelo to do two things. Try to outbox him early, then attack in the later rounds, because he's the older fighter. So if that's what he does, then what we would do is just let him box, stay on the outside, score points, and then when he steps on the gas, we step on the gas a little harder.
It seems you've brought back the Kovalev of old in a sense where, he's trusting in his own talents and stuff. And he knows, one thing about you, I'll be honest, I think you're one of the most underrated trainers out there. I've always said, how I thought you were such a great trainer. And I think we're seeing it. I think the rest of the world is seeing it with Kovalev. When you tell a fighter, I'm going to stop this fight, that fighter knows that you're not BSing, that you're going to stop the fight. We saw it in his last fight against Yard, and he came out and won the fight. Does he know that he basically has to do what you're asking him to do, otherwise that's it?
Well, my thing is this, I don't want to see a fighter get hurt. Nobody wants to see a fighter get hurt, but I cannot be brave with another man's blood in life. You know what I mean? And in this business, unfortunately, it just takes that 1 second too long, and you can say I could have stopped it a round before, 2 rounds before, but that's something you can never answer. But at the same time, that's something that's always going to be in your mind for the rest of your life. I went through it with Max Dadashev. If I had stopped it sooner, could I have saved his life? I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? And so it's a thing that it makes you study your fighter more, and you watch him more in the gym, and you watch everything. You watch his reaction to punches, and this way look, man, I don't like what I'm looking at here. So if you don't show me something this round, I got to stop it.
I've always said that nobody knows the fighter better than the trainer that's spending every day with him, and you're 100% right. There's too many trainers out there that are real tough when their fighter's in there taking the beat, and they should know their fighter when he comes to the corner, if he's acting any differently or whatever, or if it's just fatigue. And you've done very well identifying that, and I think your own fighters respect you for it.
Well, my thing is this: I'd rather you be mad at me for 2 years for stopping the fight too soon, then your whole family mad at me for the rest of my life.
Yeah. It's a great point.
I could deal with the 2 years.
Right.
You'll get over it.
Yeah, you could even deal with them being mad for 20. At least he's still around for 20.
Hello, there you go.
Yeah. No, you're right. I see Kovalev, like I said earlier, having a chance of winning this fight. Utilizing his jab. He's naturally a bigger guy, stronger. Honestly, do you think he could win a decision here in Vegas?
Hey, this is my thing on that. I'm not going to go into the fight thinking about that. This is my thing. If we get a bad decision, the whole world would have seen it. And then the Las Vegas Athletic Commission is going to have to say to themselves, we got to change something here. Because eventually people are going to get tired of these bad decisions.
I think they are now.
And what's happening is a lot of these judges are fans. They're not there to say, okay, let's see who's the best. I'm a fan of this guy, so they watch him more than they watch both guys, and it's not right to the fighters at all.
You're right. I was on my way out here. I was happened to fly in with Steve Farhad, and I was saying to him that years ago we developed lifelong boxing fans. Today it seems like we have boxing fighter fans, that they're more into their fighter, and when their fighter's career is over, who knows what they're going to do. We won't know that for a few more years. What we need, what this sport needs, is lifelong boxing fans.
Let me tell you, I was in Atlantic City, and Turo was getting ready to fight, I want to say Duran or the last fight with Mickey Ward. And I saw one of the judges, who's a great friend of mine, and I went over to give her a hug, and she says no. I was like, why not? She goes, I'm doing your fight tonight, so please go the other way.
Wow. Nice.
I like that.
I'm going to say her name because I love her. She's great. Her name is Miss Melvina Latham, who was the commissioner also.
Yeah.
But she said, buddy, go away. I'm judging your fight tonight. No conversation.
Wow.
I mean, and you got to respect that.
That's why she's still in the sport.
Right. You know what I mean? And I love her for that.
Imagine if Congress did that.
You know what I mean?
No political.
And then I'm working with a fighter, and he's fighting for a title. And that day, the promoter had me and the officials go to lunch.
Wow.
Like, I'm at lunch, and I'm like, yo, what fight are you guys working? And they're like, yo. I'm like, what? I'm like, man, we out to lunch together. We went on a tour. They had us on a tour bus. We going all over, hanging out. I'm like, so what fight you got? They said, yours, buddy. I'm like, are you serious? They're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, my God, man, we're going to go to jail. So I told my friend jokingly, in the dressing room, I went to watch him wrap the fighter's hands. I said, if you knock us out, we're going to get a draw. He said,
right. That's right. Sometimes you got to back him twice to get a draw.
And he was like, what are you talking about, buddy? I said, you'll see. I said, if it's close, don't even think you're going to get it. You know what I mean? And that's what happened, man. So it's crazy, man, but that's the way the fight game is. And is it fair? No, because you have people's lives, not only their lives, their career, how they take care of their family in your hands. And to me, it's just, they got to do something, man. Something has to be done.
You fought. You have a Hall of Fame career, obviously in the Hall of Fame, and even though it wasn't that long ago when you fought, but it's changed a lot, buddy. And today there's more emphasis on the A and B side fighter, and I think basically what you're saying now. The judges seem to come out with that mentality, and I've seen referees too. I don't want to mention his name, but I've seen referees slap around the guy that's not supposed to win. Pushing him away, giving him the business.
They mug him.
It's like, give me a break. And
extra
they're pushing
shove.
him. Hey, none of this. It's like the Three Stooges. None of this, none of that.
Today in boxing, all you have to do is look and see who's standing in whose corner, and you know who's going to win the fight.
And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. And the same thing with the judging. We all know the judging criteria, but one of my arguments is that the order in which that criteria is judged should be etched in stone.
Right.
Because you might like volume, I might like power, and we're seeing these crazy scorecards, And I've seen a lot of judges where they're scoring rounds for fighters that are throwing punches. And even though he's not landing, they're still getting the rounds.
It looks good. I mean, they're like, wow, he looks good, but he ain't doing shit. I tell fighters all the time, so look, man, do this, do that. The judges think you're doing something, you ain't doing shit.
Right, I know. And all you got to do is have a couple of people screaming and cheering when you throw the punch.
You throw a feint.
Right. Yeah, right.
Wow, right. What a jab. He didn't even throw the jab.
Yeah, no, I know.
Buddy, I just wanted to say congratulations on your induction, and
thank you.
I wanted to say that I in that ring, it's quite beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And I remember meeting you back when I was 17.
Nice telling my age now.
At a card at the Felt Forum.
I kept that quiet. He's
At a card at the Felt Forum, Alex Stewart fought Lorenzo Canaday. And Edwin Rosario was on the card. Aaron Davis was on the card.
He's really telling he's
Kevin
bragging now.
Kevin Kelly was on the card.
Throwing you right under the bus is what he's
crazy.
doing.
Well, they don't have cards like that
We're all
anymore.
over 50.
It was all New Yorkers. It was all New Yorkers. And I remember you were in the audience. And me and my brother were like, wow, Buddy McGirt's here. And we went over and shook your hand. It was awesome. And then we got to see you fight Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker.
Then he comes to the fight that I lose. You see that?
Well, but
he's so good. I tried to, to keep him out of it.
I'm
sorry. That's okay, man. Yeah,
But I tell you, that
personally.
fight was amazing.
Thank
that
you.
was two of the top fighters on earth at
Thank
the
you.
time. And I remember you were not 100% because you had that shoulder injury.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts on Pernell Whitaker's passing?
You know,
and
it's a shame. It's a shame, man. It's a shame when anybody dies. And here's a gentleman who was one of the greats, but he doesn't get the recognition he deserves. To me, he only has one legitimate loss on his record, and that was to Felix Trinidad.
Yeah.
But by then, he was over the hill.
Right.
Everybody else, Oscar, Ramirez, Chavez. I mean, that was just ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable, man. And back in the days when you used to go to Felt Forum, when it was called the Felt Forum now.
Yeah.
They got to bring in a guy with like a 12-20 record, but the only difference then was the guy with the 12-20 record could fight.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you didn't know if the guy with the 12 wins was going to show up or the guy with the 20 losses.
But he still fought 32 professional fights.
Right.
But today, if you get a guy 12-20, you're like, come on, man, this guy can't spell fight.
Right.
You know? And I saw a guy, this is no lie. I don't like to talk about people, because, I respect anybody that gets in the ring. I don't care who you are. But this guy came in the gym, and he said he was 18-0. And everybody vouched for him that he was 18-0. When I saw him shadowbox, I says, I want to fight the 18 guys that he fought right now.
All right, that's a great segue for what I wanted to ask you. What I want to ask you, okay? Now, and I'll be honest, I'm not going to pull any punches. I blame a lot of what's happened to this sport, the way we are right now, to Floyd Mayweather. And the reason why is because he was successful. And I'm not, saying he wasn't a great fighter or whatever, but he was successful in the path he took. Now, everybody sees his success financially, his record, his accomplishments, et cetera, and they all want to copy it. So what happens is, we were talking about some young fighters that are on the card Saturday night that were here. They're fighting these nobodies. They're building up the record. They're not giving themselves a chance to get better, and they believe in all the press clippings. They think they're invincible. Doesn't that hurt the fighter?
Yes, because when he finally gets in a real fight,
exactly,
he gets his head handed to him.
Exactly.
Floyd was different in the sense because Floyd could fight. I mean, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it came a point where he had to fight the best, and he did. When I was fighting, back, say in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, when you was fighting, they was building you up to get ready for those tough fights. You wasn't fighting all guys you're just going to run through. No. Every now and then you had 3 or 4 guys that say, oh, yeah? You think you're going to get this win easy.
Right.
But now you see some guys, now you're like, how the hell did they even give them a license? And here's the funny part. They have records like 12-1.
That's the sad part.
20-1. It's like, who the hell did you fight?
Yeah.
But you know what happens now? A lot of them go to Mexico, pad their records, come back, and the fans are like, wow. He's 15-0. The problem in boxing today is that people, they judge fighters by their record.
Exactly.
And that's where you get tricked. I should tell my manager, I don't want to fight a guy that's 2-8. No. Give me a guy that's 8-0. Because the guy with the 2 wins might show up, and then I might be in trouble. So I don't want to fight that guy.
Yeah, no, but it's like other sports too. When you're playing the better team, you rise to the occasion. And I think a lot of promoters and managers aren't giving their own fighters that opportunity. Plus, as a trainer, you want to see how they perform, and if maybe we need to fight that level guy again before you say, oh yeah, I'm past that guy.
But they don't think. Listen, I fought a guy named Willie Taylor out of Virginia. When I saw him at the weigh-in, I looked at my manager. I said, "Are you serious?" He said, "You're going to jail, kid. You're going to hurt this kid. Let me tell you something." I hit this guy with a 1-2, and I went to turn around because I thought he was going down. Hit me in the back of the head.
Ooh.
Like, where you going, buddy? I said, oh, God. I'm in for a long night.
Yeah.
And the fight went 10 rounds. I was like, damn. You know what I mean? So, it's just, I just think in boxing right now, you just got to make the fights a little more interesting, man. Because if not, it's back now where it needs to be. For a while, it was dead. You know what I mean? But now it's getting back. You get fights like this, Canelo, Kovalev, where the best is stepping up 2 weight divisions to fight a guy. Now that's boxing.
I agree.
You know what I mean? That's what boxing needs more of. You know what I mean?
But don't you think the promoters and the networks should get this out of their mind, that you can't, assume a fighter, just like you said the other way, you see a 12-0 fighter, the fan base has been tricked to think that that's a good fighter when they haven't fought anybody. There's nothing wrong with losing, especially a close fight, and I think that the network should be receptive to those fighters instead of saying, oh, he's got a loss.
Sometimes a guy that loses a fighter becomes a better fighter.
Yeah.
That loses a fight, I'm sorry.
If they learn from it.
They become a better fighter, they learn. Right, exactly. If they learn from it, and then bam, next thing you know, he's a superstar. But guys will be like, oh, Floyd's 50-0. Okay, but guess what? Sugar Ray Robinson had a 90-fight win streak.
Yeah.
90.
Chavez was 80-0 before he lost his first fight.
Okay. I don't know about Chavez. I'm just gonna tell you, Sugar Ray Robinson.
No, he's he's the best ever. Sugar Ray.
Sugar Ray Robinson, 90-fight win streak.
Oh yeah.
And he didn't fight any bums.
No. Well, he fought.
And to think we can't see the welterweight Sugar Ray, because there's like no footage of those fights.
I mean,
we won.
They're giving us the signal here. It seemed like the hooks.
I thought she was giving you the finger.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. I don't know if she was giving me the single or the finger, but I know you're busy. 2 things I want to ask you. One, how do you see the fight going? Obviously you're gonna lean towards Cove, but how do you see the fight going?
I think it's gonna be a very interesting chess match.
You do think it's going to be more tactical than a brawl? Okay.
And my other question is there a rematch clause in this fight?
Listen, I stay in my lane as the trainer. When it comes to the negotiatings and all that, I don't want to know anything in case I ever get interrogated. I can honestly say I don't know nothing.
Well, buddy, I wish you luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you stopping by with us. It was great seeing you again.
Thank you very much
so much.
And,
I'm feeling. I keep telling him I'm going back and forth on this fight, and if Canelo can utilize his height and establish that jab, I'm sorry, Kovalev can establish that jab, it's going to be an interesting night.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy.
Stay out of trouble.
Yeah. James Buddy McGirt, who gets in trouble himself, making me laugh here, but a Hall of Famer. And an interesting take on what the sport of boxing is. We got Sergio Mora coming right now. So we're going to get him set up as he was patiently waiting. Former...
I got you, champ. I got you, champ.
Former world champion and currently the Zone broadcaster, Sergio Mora, joins us. Thanks for taking some time. Sorry you had to wait over there. Buddy jumped right in.
No, listen, if Hall of Fame, great 2-time champion, trainer of the year, Buddy McGirt, I'm behind him. That's always class for me. I love Buddy McGirt.
Hey, Sergio, one thing I want to congratulate you. You've made this transition from inside the ring to calling. I think you're doing a fantastic job. What's been the biggest adjustment that you feel you've had to make?
Just learning, being patient, knowing my role. I think when you're unfamiliar with something new, I never had a job before. This is my first job.
Even though boxing's a job. Come on, I mean, you put into that.
And when you love what you do, it's not a job. I went over there. I would work out and be like, man, I'm getting paid to work out. Isn't that great? So it's not. I've never had a real job. So this is the only time where I have a boss. I have to be, at meetings. I have to be prepared, and it really is a great job, but it is a lot of work and criticism that comes with it. Sometimes I could choose better words. I could have been more energetic. I could have said less, which meant more. But these are things that I'm learning, and if I'm learning and doing a good job at it, then I'm fine with it.
You are doing a great job, and that's a great segue for what I'm going to ask you right now. It's a job. You have a boss. You work for the network. How do you how do you balance that with calling things as you see it and not trying to be the corporate Sergio?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And here's the thing: if I were working for any other boss or any other network or promoter, they will instill that in your ear. They'll plant that seed of telling you, listen, be neutral, bud.
Yes,
not with the
not
zone.
neutral.
Not with the zone. If you notice, Chris Mannix, they don't hold on to what he needs to say. He criticizes the mismatches on the zone. He criticizes Sims Jr. for not stepping up and getting these TV fights. And with me, I try not to be too overcritical with fighters because I know how difficult it is to do what we do. But I will say something negative if it needs to be said. I try not to be over negative, but if it needs to be said, I'm not going to shy away from it.
You know, you have a couple of young fighters on the card Saturday night. Ryan Garcia is one of them that, I've had a chance to meet and chat with him. He's a great kid. I think this is a tough fight for him. Duno, they're looking at it very like it's not going to be a problem, but this is the toughest opponent he's faced. What's your thoughts on that fight?
If Carlos Morales, who fought Ryan Garcia, gave him problems, Carlos Morales is an excellent fighter. He's never been stopped. Good fighter. He gave him problems, and I think Duno is a lot better fighter than Carlos Morales.
Thank you.
And this is going to be a big test for Ryan Garcia, and it's going to be Duno knows how to fight taller fighters really well. He's an excellent body puncher. He has a great time jab. It's going to be shorter, a lot shorter than Garcia's, and the distance is going to be hard to break, but he will break it. And he will get his hands on Garcia. Garcia doesn't have the greatest defense. He just keeps his hands up. His offense is defense. His speed is defense. But then once he gets closed down, he just puts his hands up and he goes against the ropes. Duno's going to take advantage of that, and you're going to need to make him miss completely. And Garcia's not going to do that. So I'm curious to see how he's going to take the power and the aggression of Duno.
I agree with you 100%. And, the thing is it just goes back to what we've been talking about all day today is, a lot of young fighters follow that path of least resistance where they're being handed opposition that they can walk through. And then all of a sudden they get this kind of fight that he's going to be in Saturday night. And we don't know what we're going to get. How does he handle it mentally? Does he get beat up? The last fight that Mario Barrios was in, I thought he lost that fight. He took a beating, and it was a similar path that Ryan's followed.
If it wasn't for Carlos Morales and another fighter that took him the distance, Jason Velez, then I would say Ryan Garcia will be in trouble.
I said Jason Velez was the toughest opponent that he had. And Duno has fought at least 4 or 5 good opponents.
That fight that Duno had with Juan Antonio Rodriguez.
That's the one.
Oh my God! What a brutal fight! And let's not think that didn't have an impact on him. That just happened a couple of months ago.
Right.
That's going to be to Ryan Garcia's benefit because he was losing that fight before they stopped it. Duno was. That was just a physically taxing fight, and that's going to be maybe that. And then his last fight at Home Depot Center. He had a good win versus a solid fighter, but how in shape was his opponent? What was his name again? How in shape was he? Ivan Delgado. Delgado looked soft around the belly. There was rumors that he just got out of jail. I don't know how true that was, but he didn't look in shape.
Oh, that fight, yeah.
But he didn't look in shape, and I credited Delgado during that fight. He was losing, but I was giving him so much credit for taking the fight and showing notice, and Duno didn't look that good against him. So now he's in there with a taller, faster, golden goose in the next Oscar De La Hoya, Ryan Garcia. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
I love the fight. Now, obviously, the main event. I've been going back and forth with this fight. When they first announced it, I was, saying Canelo, easy. He's going to work the body. He's going to stop. And I started thinking, I'm like, wait a minute. Kovalev's a power guy, no question. He's taller. He's got a great jab if he uses. He's got Buddy McGirt in the corner. Which version of Kovalev are we going to see? And, can Canelo beat the best Kovalev?
The key to beating Canelo is going to be that man right there, Buddy McGirt.
That's what
I really think that's going to be the key, honestly, because he's going to stay in his ear round per round, not to get overly aggressive, to touch. You're going to hear that word a lot. Just touch him. Just touch him. He's going to remind him to throw body shots because Kovalev's not a body puncher. And the reason he's not a body puncher is because he's a great distance fighter. He likes to keep that 1-2 or that 2-1. But he throws a right hand down there if he can go throw the right hand to the shoulder or the bicep or the elbow like he was versus Bernard Hopkins, that's going to open up something. So do that against Canelo, and that man right there, Buddy McGirt, will instill that round after round after round. And that if they do win, it's going to be because of that and following instructions and the game plan.
Can he win a decision in Las Vegas?
I think the only way he wins Saturday is a decision. And I've been getting called crazy by everybody. I'm like, well, I'm thinking put the early rounds in the bank.
Yeah.
If you can put 3, that'd be great. If you could put 4, that's amazing, because then Canelo's playing catch up the second half of the fight. We know that's when Kovalev struggles in the second half of the fight, and then he can box and maneuver and do all that. Then he can cruise into a decision. Canelo's going to have to get aggressive, falling behind on points. That's when he's probably going to get caught with something coming in. That's the only way I see Kovalev winning.
I see Canelo needing to get inside against Kovalev. And like you mentioned, Buddy McGirt knows that. So he has to establish his jab in this fight. I think that the fight's going to depend on that, don't you?
Oh, yeah. They got a great game plan, and you could see Buddy McGirt smiling, and we know Kovalev has that jack-o'-lantern smile, but that's just for show. He's smiling because he knows he has a trick up his sleeve. McGirt, he knows he's been there. He's been here before.
Wasn't it a jab that he dropped Hopkins with?
He dropped with the right hand.
Right hand.
It was the right hand. Actually, and Kovalev stepped back, which was impressive because he stepped back. When Hopkins was trying to counter, and he caught him with the right hand over the top, but he dropped Diarde with the jab, and he hurt Alvarez. He later Alvarez with a power jab.
Yeah, that was him,
as well. But it's a power jab. It's not really, and by a power jab I mean he touches you with the right hand and he powers in the one. So it's more like a 1-2 from a southpaw stance.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's not really a jab. It's a 2-1 instead of a 1-2.
Huh. That's what I hate about CompuStats.
because I'm not a big fan.
If it's a jab, it counts and it knocks you out. It's not a power punch.
I'm not a fan of effective aggression.
No,
how do you know what effective is? Have you ever been affected by a punch?
No, listen. I can't. I don't want to. I'm not going to mention the network, but I couldn't stand when they used this punch stats to call the fight.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great conversation piece after the fight's over, but during
especially
the fight,
close fights.
Yeah, during the fight, I don't think it means anything. I mean, and a lot of commentators use it as if it's fact. It's two guys' opinion. They're hitting the buttons on the keyboard.
I remember when they first started using it, when Larry Merchant would talk about it, and he would say it's a quantitative, not a qualitative look at the fight. And I always thought that was a good way to describe it, because that's very different between quantity and quality.
The casual fan is not. They don't know what quality is. They want to see that eye feature. They want to see that mannequin with the red head and then the pink torso. He's been getting hit more to the head than the torso.
Right,
they want that actual.
Yeah.
They want to see that visual. All right, I get it. But for the aficionado, for the boxing fan, for the boxer, it's useless. I don't care for it because you don't know what effective is. Sometimes a shot that didn't look effective hurt the opponent.
Yeah,
hurt the opponent. I actually get into this with Brian Kenny during telecast. I'm like, Brian, he's hurt, and Brian he's not quick to agree with me, and then the fighter will go down. He goes, well, I guess he is hurt, Sergio. I'm like, but I saw he was hurt because of the way he reacted.
Yeah.
And I've seen that plenty of times, like a handful of times in the zone fights, where I'll call a fighter being hurt, and then sure enough, you'll see it'll develop.
Yeah. That's because Brian's from Levittown. So am I. And I had him here, and we were reminiscing about Levittown, Long Island. Just next time he says, Levittown. I heard those Levittown people can't see.
Levittown?
Levittown. That's where he's from, yeah.
Hey, Sergio, I was curious. I remember when you fought Sugar Shane Mosley. Yeah. I really enjoyed that fight. One of the things that I thought...
You're one of the few, but thank you.
Yeah, and I was very surprised. People were...
worst fight of my life.
I thought it was really good.
It was the worst.
You really befuddled him in the early going with lots of feints. I have a feeling I know who you're going to say, because I have my own thoughts. But who is a good feinter out there today? you don't see a lot of guys do it.
Yeah.
That idea defensively really getting in your opponent's mind and just it breaks them down. And that's what you're doing with Mosley.
The best feinter is pound for pound the best fighter in the world right now, Vasily Lomachenko. He'll feint your feet. He'll feint you with your feet, with head movement, with punches. And that's what really frustrates fighters. I mean, the feinting, not really knowing where the speed and the power is going to come from, add the fact that he's a southpaw. I think Lomachenko is one of the best out there right now. But back to that Mosley fight. Now, that was the worst fight of my career, not because of my performance, but because of the criticism I
Really?
took for
Wow.
that. And the same thing if you ask Tim Bradley, what was the worst moment or period in his time, it was that second or the first Pacquiao fight. One of the Pacquiao fights. He said
the first one.
he got so much criticism
For winning.
For winning.
Yeah.
And for making the biggest purse of his career. But then he talked about, I don't know if he talked about like negative things that, in his head, but he became really bitter after that fight. And I was the same way after Mosley.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really good. I thought it was great seeing him try to figure out how you were.
Mosley said that afterwards in the press conference, and he continues to. When Larry Merchant told him in the ring, "We thought you won the fight. We thought the judges got it wrong. What do you think?" And then Shane's like, "No, I thought it was a draw. Was fine." I'm like, "Why are you putting words in his mouth? Let the legend talk."
Right.
You asked him the question, but you told him what you wanted him to say, and then he didn't say it. He said, "No, I thought draw was fair."
Yeah.
When a fighter admits that a draw was fair, he lost the fight.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
True.
We have another young fighter on the card that I just met. I never saw him fight. Blair Cobbs. What do you think of him? He thinks he's going to be the next thing since sliced bread.
Well, it's good for him. He's exciting. I mean, he's exciting to. He's a character.
Yeah, he is.
He's a character. I think he brings a little bit of that WWE mentality, that flair. He's smart. I like listening to him talk. He's not boring. He's not redundant. I mean, maybe that woo. That's redundant, but that's a shtick.
Yeah.
But if you talk to him, he's a smart guy. He's articulate and he says the right things. And then he'll get into character and give you the look and the everything else. But he can fight. How far he'll get, we're gonna find out. He's in there with a power puncher. This fight, 11 wins, 11 knockouts. So we're gonna see if we can take a punch. But yeah, I would like to see him get matched up a little tough and see what we really have with Blair Cobbs.
How about the Marlon Esparza? I mean, I think not only is Ryan Garcia in deep, I think Marlon Esparza's in pretty deep.
Marlon's gonna have their hands full.
Yeah.
Sinisa Estrada's a stablemate of mine. I've known her since I was eight years old.
Oh wow!
And I know how good this woman is now, but I've known her since she was a kid, a baby. I've seen her beat up boys since she was 8, 10, 12, 14 years old. She'll beat up boys in sparring. She won every national tournament you could think of with the amateurs. She's disciplined. She's hardworking. All she ever did in life is boxing. I mean, you're going to see a movie in her one day.
Wow.
But Marlon Esparza is the bigger fighter coming down in weight. She's the Olympian, and there's bad blood there. That always makes things exciting. But Esparza will have her hands full.
Wow.
Especially 3-minute rounds. That's going to be key, too, because 2-minute rounds fly. And this is going to be a 3-minute rounds for women's fight.
Really?
I like that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's great.
I was involved with Chevelle Hallback for years, and I always asked her because I never wondered why. I know the WBC says they say some crazy reasons why it should only be 2 rounds, but the truth of the matter is every woman fighter I ever spoke to preferred
They want 3.
they want 2 rounds.
Treat us the same as men.
Yeah.
They fight just as hard. Why not?
They train.
They want to be, yeah. We know you have to go. I got one question, and hopefully you can answer it. What's your official prediction for the Canelo Kovalev fight?
I think Canelo will stop Kovalev because Kovalev he'll get hurt at some time in the fight. He'll get hurt, and we've already seen him get stopped. He doesn't know how to survive. He doesn't know how to hold on. So if Canelo, who's an excellent finisher, sees a glimpse of Kovalev hurt, I don't think he'll be able to withstand the flurry in the attack. Canelo by late stoppage.
Do you think Kovalev is going to be mentally strong for this fight?
I think he'd be. I don't know about mentally strong, but he'll be mentally prepared because he's been hurt already. So that always takes out of a fighter. When a fighter's been brutally knocked out, I mean, he got pretty much beaten up by Ward, and he got knocked out brutally by Alvarez. once a fighter, especially a monster puncher who's used to doing the knocking out, once a fighter gets that invincibility taken away from them, mentally they're never the same. And that's the reason I'm choosing my words carefully. Mentally, I don't think he'll be 100% prepared for a Canelo, but strategically, I think he will be.
Interesting.
That's a good way to put it.
No,
Yeah.
it is because, you look at Mike Tyson, Sonny Liston, same things. One state.
Punchers are never the same. Once that aura of invincibility gets taken away from them, they're never the same.
Well, and that's one of the things that Blair was talking about before when we were asking him about his style. He was saying that he adapts, he changes every round. And I think the best fighters were able to do that. If you think, it was just, I think it's been 40 years ago, just the other day was the anniversary. If you watch the first round of Ali Foreman, Ali fights the first round like a slugger.
Yeah,
and that was the thing about great fighters. They do what was needed, and they adapt.
Yeah, well, that's Ali, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the other issue, too, is...
Well, yeah, you have to adapt.
It boils down to the trainer to help make the proper adjustments. Because like I was saying earlier, the fighter's going to prepare for his game plan all through training camp. That's what they're working on in training camp. It's the fighters and the trainers that can make the adjustments during the fight that'll separate a fighter from winning or losing.
It separates a good fighter from a great fighter, good trainer to great trainer. And I think Andre Ward, for instance, I'll use him instead of Ali. How he fought Kovalev the first time compared to how he fought him the second time. He adjusted mentally, physically, became... The first fight, he was a boxer, strict boxer. And then the second fight, he bullied the bully from the beginning.
Yeah.
He pressured him. He fought him in the inside. He got dirty because he needed to fight that way. He wasn't going to outbox him again on the end of the punch. So Andre Ward, a great fighter, did something great. And this Saturday, you have a great trainer in Buddy McGirt. And I think you have a Hall of Famer in Sergey Kovalev, which is a great light heavyweight. So you got a great boxer, a great trainer. Expect a great night.
Definitely.
Okay, I lied. I got another question for you. Rematches. That's something that I think is important in the sport that it's rare today. How do you feel about them?
I'm the king of rematches.
No, I know. I got
I'm
five. The wrong guy.
I got 5 rematches that I've on my record, and I should have had 7 because Alvin Ayala deserved a rematch, and Shane Mosley we needed one there. So I'm a fan of rematches, but only trilogies are hard to sell because people get a little like
unless they're
burnt
great.
out. Unless they're great.
Right.
But usually trilogies don't end up great. Except for Gotti and Ward. But usually a third one you've already given way too much.
Ali Frazier.
Ali Frazier.
Yeah.
Ali Frazier. But then you look at Leonard Duran.
Right.
Right.
So there's
third one was miserable.
pros and cons. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're
That's
right.
true.
Sergio, thank you very much.
No, you got it. Thank you, guys.
Keep up the good work. You're
Thank
doing
you.
a great job, and we look forward to listening to you on Saturday night.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
So much.
Sergio Mora, former world champion, doing a great job with DAZN and giving us his thoughts on the fight. Listen, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in 2.
Pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. We're coming to you live from the MGM in Las Vegas. We're doing our Canelo Kovalev pre-fight show. We just had Sergio Mora on. We had James Buddy McGirt. And we're about to have Kathy Duva, the promoter of Sergey Kovalev, join us. And she's getting all set right now. Kathy, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Big fight. Saturday night. What's your thoughts on the fight? I know you helped make it, of course, but what's your thoughts on the fight initially?
I told Sergey, I reminded him, I told him years ago I was sure that he someday was going to fight Canelo.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, and I'm I can't tell you that I anticipated a year ago that this was going to happen because we were in a really bad place, but that's part of what happens when you build a legacy and you fight the toughest opposition out there and you build a fan base. And, Canelo recognized that, well, if he's going to do something historic, if he's going to move up, and I always thought he would, because I always thought this is a guy who's never going to be able to keep fighting at 160. When he's starting this at such a young age, and he's a stocky guy. And he's that guy who wants greatness. And it seemed to me, coming up in a much earlier time in boxing when everybody did that, I felt, well, this is somebody who's going to want to do that. And I said, Sergey, there's nobody in your division who you can have that defining fight with. Years ago, that was the problem with when Sergey won the title. It's okay, how do you become that pay-per-view fighter, which is what it was at the time, right? How do you become that guy who can move the needle? And you need an opponent. Ali needed Frazier, right? Everybody needs an opponent. Well, there was nobody in the light heavyweight division at that point who could be that guy. Sergey had to become that guy. And now people are going to come up and fight you. And I see the day's going to come when, these people are going to have to fight you. And as I said, I'm not surprised, but I'm thrilled. And when the call came, it was, yes, Canelo is everything I thought he was. He's a great fighter. He wants greatness.
Sergio, obviously, Canelo Alvarez thinks that they see something in Sergio. Everybody knows that, they're thinking that the body is going to be a weakness. And obviously we spoke with Buddy, and they know that. Mentally, how does Sergey Kovalev feel about the fight in terms of, what he has on the table? And I'm going to ask you, is there a rematch clause in this fight?
We're not allowed to talk about any
Okay,
of the
all right.
terms of the contract.
Because to me, and I would assume that there is, to me, it makes sense that he would want to win the fight so he could guarantee himself another big payday.
He wants to win the fight because he wants to go on and unify the titles. You got to understand how he thinks.
Does he want to keep going? Because there was talk that he was.
No, we've talked about it, and the fact is, win or lose, he's going to go on and unify the titles. That's his plan.
Oh,
there's a lot. I mean, light heavyweight is just one of the more exciting divisions right now.
It is. It finally got there. Remember, when he started, there was nobody in his division.
Yeah.
My first conversation with an executive at HBO about him was, well, you got a problem. He's Russian and he's a light heavyweight. Nobody's going to care about him, and he's in an awful division. I said, no, he's the guy who's going to make the division.
Wow.
And he got there, and he is that guy. And you can go out there and tell me that, Beterbiev's God, and I've heard all these things. I love Dmitry Bivol. We work with him too. He's a tremendous fighter, and he's going to be the future of the division. I am sure of that. But today, Sergey Kovalev is still the man in the division. And
Computer has him number one.
As he should be, because look at who he's fought.
Yeah.
He's fought everybody in the division.
And he beat Andre Ward at least once.
At least once.
So,
yeah, I definitely thought he beat him the first time.
What is, in your opinion, what does Buddy McGirt bring to the table? Because I see a different Kovalev. I see a guy that feels very comfortable with Buddy.
It's such the atmosphere in that camp is so relaxed. It's so much fun. You can't be around Buddy and not be laughing, right?
I
mean, he's one of the funniest individuals I've ever known, and he's a truly beautiful soul. And Sergey. One of the things about him that I've noticed always is he can judge somebody the moment he meets them, and he's usually dead on right about them. Well, Buddy, they walked in the door and they clicked. Love at first sight, and this is what it is. And Buddy knows what he's doing, and Sergey's very smart, and he recognizes that, and he respects that.
James Buddy McGirt is a guy that fighters, I think, know when they go back to the corner and he says, "I'm going to stop this fight." That he's not just saying that to motivate them. And in Sergey's last fight against Yard, he demonstrated that. He was in trouble in that fight, and Buddy said he was thinking about stopping that fight, and he came on and knocked out Anthony Yard. How important is that relationship when he steps in the ring against Canelo?
Well, he's going to. Unlike the fights with Ward, he's going to step in the ring with a game plan. He never had one. Think about the things he's accomplished, and he was just figuring it out as he went along.
Was that because of lack of training or lack of him accepting the training?
I don't know. You know what? It was a bad relationship. And
with John David Jackson, the previous trainer.
It was a bad relationship, and we didn't have a better solution. It was, we could tell that it was that they were not close and they weren't getting along. I've seen situations, there were times when Arturo Gatti and Buddy weren't speaking with each other, but they'd get in the ring and in the gym and train. There were times when Pernell Whitaker and George Benton weren't speaking with each other. It is possible, to be able to have a good working relationship and not a friendship. But it just kept getting more and more toxic. And in the second ward fight, when we found out a week ahead of time that John had been literally sleeping with the enemy, talking to the ward camp, giving them tips, whatever, and thinking about leaving Sergey to go train ward.
That's right. I forgot about that.
That last week, we had to go to Vegas and pretend it had never happened. Because what do? You throw the trainer out then?
Right.
Again, it's like a bad marriage. We could sit with the two of them and they could both tell us every reason why the other person's to blame. And I'm sure they're both right. But it didn't work. This marriage is working out beautifully.
Well, you see it. You see it in the ring.
You can feel it in the air when you walk in the room.
Yeah.
Before, it was two people who don't like. It was like a bad marriage. You know when you've seen that couple that's getting ready to divorce and it's hard to be in the room with them.
Have to go to dinner with them.
Yeah. That's what it was like. Yeah. That's what his training camp was like. He was not having any fun. He was not happy. There were no moments where everybody just hangs around and jokes with each other. People weren't busting each other, and they bust each other back and forth. You've got to love somebody and feel very secure with them to do that.
Right.
So it's fun. It's fun to be around them.
That relationship that Buddy McGirt has, I was at the first the fight Gotti. I think it was Buddy McGirt's first fight with Gotti when he fought Tehran Millette.
Yeah,
it was amazing to see the transformation.
Yeah.
If we can have something click like that for Kovalev, I think Canelo's in a lot the Saturday night.
I was just going to say, the comfort level, and Canelo is obviously not thinking the way we're talking right now about he acts like he is, but it seems that...
Frankly, he's got tension in his camp.
Oh, right, I know. He's got a lot of tension. He
Just
does.
saying.
No, you're 100% right. You're right.
It's different. It's not his trainer, but still.
Yeah, it's not his trainer.
But he's a great fighter, and I'm not going to think that he's going to let anything like that, affect his performance.
No, but obviously, Buddy's going to help Kovalev understand that and use it to his advantage on Saturday night. I'm expecting Kovalev to use his height and reach advantage. I know he's got the power, and I know Canelo has never been hit by a legitimate light heavyweight. But the discipline aspect and if he can establish his jab, I think it's going to be a dangerous night for Canelo. And I'm hoping that's what he does, because that's how he can win the fight, in my opinion.
I think you're right. He's got to win. He's got to go in box.
Yep.
I think he's everybody talks about his power. I think he's a better boxer.
Well, let me ask you this, and I've been asking everyone, can he win a decision in Vegas against Canelo? Should he outbox him and beat him?
I don't think he wins a 1-point decision here. But I think that if he can go in there and dominate and win every round, again, let's go back and look at him up until he gassed out with Ward in 2 fights and gassed out with Alvarez. He won every round.
Yeah,
right.
He's a tremendous boxer. He outboxed Bernard Hopkins. He won every round. He shut him out. At that point in his career, he was not as focused on his boxing as he is now.
Wow.
His jab wasn't as good as it is now. He talks about when Buddy started teaching, when he first started training with Buddy, Buddy would just not let him throw anything but his left hand throughout the entire training session. He said he would go back. He couldn't even move his arm to drive his car. He had to drive with his right hand.
Wow.
That's old school training.
Very old school training.
Wow.
He strengthened that. That jab was always a weapon. He always just be able to. He stopped people with it before, but now it is the primary weapon because he did fall in love with the power. He did start relying on it. Yep. And as he was getting tired because he was overtraining, he's getting older, and now he's trying to train like a young fighter and fight like a young fighter at a pace like a young fighter fights instead of at a pace that a Manny Pacquiao would. As he's learned, he's the best example of a guy who's adapted like that. Now that Sergey has adapted, and if he goes out there and he can just win as he did with Yard every round, one after another, put him in the bank. If he has a tough moment, whatever, sooner or later, that jab, over and over and over again as the fight wears on, maybe he does get a late stoppage.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, the Mexican crowd, and I learned this with Pernell Whitaker and Chavez Sr., they are very astute. They know their boxing. And when their guy's losing, they don't just keep yelling and screaming for him. They get really quiet.
Yeah.
So
if it gets quiet, right?
Yeah.
So part of what plays, I believe, into bad decisions is the crowd.
Yeah, you're
Some
right.
judges just listen to the crowd more than others.
You're right.
And I know in the first Ward fight, we had one in particular who now I've watched a pattern and went, oh shit, I know when I want him. But but the point is that if it gets really quiet in there, that advantage of that crowd kind of goes away. So
they're giving me the signal here for you, but one question I have: do you think Buddy has helped him with discipline in the ring?
Sergey was always disciplined. The problem was he in the ring, maybe not so much outside. This time, this quick turnaround.
That's one of the things. There was no time in between fights. I mean, he must have gone right back into camp.
Yeah, he
after
did.
Yard.
There was only about a week off that he spent with his family.
That had to help, yeah.
I think it helped a tremendous. And remember, when Buddy was fighting back in the day, a quick turnaround like this was for a champion was normal.
Right.
There was a period of 7 months in which Buddy McGirt fought Frankie Warren, won the world title, defended it against Howard Davis Jr., and then fought Pernell Whitaker. Within 7 months. Wow. Oscar fought 5 times in a year when he was champion twice.
Wow.
So that was normal. This is not. Everybody's going, oh, the fights are too close. No, Sergey's saying he's loving this.
Yeah, but Kathy, now if the fighter fights 3 times in a year, they get Fighter of the Year award.
Right.
Yes.
You know.
Well, good then. Sergey's maybe up for consideration.
Yeah, there you go. But listen, good luck Saturday.
Thank you.
I think Kovalev has a great chance of coming out as a winner if he does what I think he can do.
We'll see. The fans will be winners, though. It's going to be a great fight.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, and we appreciate your time.
Anytime.
Thanks so much.
Kathy Duva, Sergey Kovalev's promoter, and feeling very confident in this fight. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, actually, we're going to end it on this note, and we will come back in a little bit. So make sure you tune in to part 3. So we'll be back shortly.